On July 16, 1969, 3 men entered a rocket blasting off the Earth to uphold a worldwide dream of a man stepping on the moon. All eyes were on the spacecraft as it left the atmosphere, hoping to achieve the unthinkable. The space race between the Soviet Union and the United States began with the 1957 launch into space of Sputnik, the first man-made satellite. This was a key event in the Cold War between the two countries that lasted from 1947 to 1949. Sputnik sparked a light in Americans as well as unfounded public fears, like the belief that the U.S. could get annihilated by Russians' nuclear bombs at any time. The Mercury Mission was the first U.S. manned space program. It was initiated in 1958 and with 6 manned flights completed by 1963. After this followed the Apollo program. The first mission was a failure. On January 27, 1967, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were boarding the command module for a pre-flight test when a fire started, trapped them inside, and killed them. Shortly after the tragedy of Apollo 1, the Apollo mission was paused. Concern was rising if the space race was pushing NASA too fast without developing proper safety tests. They formally resumed with Apollo 7 on October 11, 1968. Apollo 11 was the 11th mission in a sequence of 17 total space flights that used Apollo hardware. All missions made different contributions, taking America a step closer to achieving the overall goal of landing on the moon. On July 16th, the Apollo 11 spacecraft launched 42 miles above Earth, reaching a speed of 6,000 miles per hour before the first stage of 3 detached. Hours later, final checks were made as Saturn V fired up again, setting the Apollo spacecraft and the astronauts on a track to the moon. For the next 3 days, Apollo coasted through space before getting pulled into a lunar orbit by the moon's gravity. But only 2 of the 3 astronauts would ever touch the moon. The crew had to split up. Michael Collins orbited the moon in a command module called Columbia, while Neil and Buzz descended to the surface of the moon in a lunar module named Eagle. As the duo watched the spacecraft get closer to the lunar surface, a problem became clear. They were losing more fuel than expected from the overshoot of their landing target. Only 30 seconds of fuel was left in the tank as Armstrong took control and landed the Eagle in the Sea of Tranquility, a dark spot located within the northern hemisphere of the moon. With more than 500 million people watching on TV, Armstrong climbed down the ladder of the Eagle. As his foot hit the fine and powdery surface, he proclaimed, They plant the American flag and the pair explore the moon for 2.5 hours, taking photographs and collecting 21.6 kilograms of material. The samples contained no sign of water and had no evidence that there were any living organisms in the moon's history. One of the major scientific findings from the rocks was that the moon was once a magma ocean, meaning it was partly molten. The Eagle descended the moon on July 21st after spending 21 hours and 36 minutes on the lunar surface. Before heading home, the Eagle docked with Collins in the CSM, Command and Service Module, which had been orbiting the moon this whole time. The service division of the CSM was ejected. Its job of helping guide the spacecraft into lunar orbit and back to Earth was no longer needed. The splashdown point was 920 miles southwest of Honolulu, where 9,000 men, 9 ships, and 54 aircraft waited for them. Once they were on land, they were put into a quarantine trailer. They gathered at the window of the trailer to be congratulated by President Nixon and all of America. Apollo 11's effect on America and the world was immense. Landing on the moon was an extraordinary concept that had been fantasized about and not thought possible by many around the world. It proved that we can do anything we set our minds to. The space race led to modern technology with the invention of computers and fast math computing, as well as unifying the world in desperate times. Today at 92, Buzz Aldrin is the only living crew member left. Michael Collins died on April 28, 2021, 9 years after Neil Armstrong, who died on August 25, 2012. You can go visit the recovered Apollo 11 command module, Columbia, displayed at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Some of the stages that were discarded during Apollo 11 could still be orbiting around the moon today, but after each mission, NASA stops tracking them, so it's hard to know. Apollo 17 was the last trip to the moon. On December 7, 1972, it was launched with the goal of exploration and testing on the moon. The main reason we have stopped going to the moon is that the desire is running out. NASA wanted to do something bigger than land on the moon, and the amount of money it took to conduct a mission soon outweighed the need.